Hi, this is the Professional Amateur Hour coming to you with another review. This week, Leo sent me Bet Dead Casino, and this 2025 film was directed by Taffy Edwards and stars Leigh Barwell, Ron Schmordenberg, and James Whittle, among others, of course. So what is the story of this movie? Well, with this one, it is about the Bet Dead Casino, which is an underground casino on the dark web, and they do, illegal street fights. So you get to bet on these illegal street fights and, you see them as well. It also turns out that like the host of their, viral show is kind of like kidnapped and taken prisoner. And so, she has a little storyline as well. What will happen though? Who will ultimately win these fights? Well, for that, you gotta watch the movie and find out. All right, so let's discuss this film. Well, with this one, when Leo sent it to me, it came with a little bit of a blurb, and it said that this was a COVID movie, or at least filmed during COVID, and is coming out now. And so they would have had to have found, isolated places to do their filming, and they find it, certainly. Abandoned buildings, a lot of it's actually done in Thailand, so the abandoned buildings in Thailand, and of course you go there, you're isolated, you do a little filming with 3 people, 2 fighters and a cameraman, and I think it works. I think that the fights look good enough where they're competently done, and for a low budget, movie, that's all that needs to be done, right? Is that you have good looking fights. And this one has quite a few of them too, like 7 or 8 fights. So it is entertaining that way. And the choreography is fine. It looks like they're hitting and punching each other for real. Of course, they're not, it's all just filming technique. And so there is certainly that to look forward to with this one. And that is good because it's all about the fights in this one. That's probably the main reason to watch this one. I'm not big into fighting, but I know a few guys who are, so they would probably really enjoy this movie just to see all of the different fights. And the fighters are kind of fun as well. Like they'll have different names like Poker Face or Highball or something like that. And you get a little introduction where they're from, their height and whatnot. So you do actually kind of get a glimpse of who they are before they start fighting, and you can kind of pick people to root for. And that's probably the main reason to watch this movie. And I think that brings me to what doesn't work with this film. Well, I know I just kind of praised the fights, but the way it's displayed to us is that it's like through a camera. So it has like, the recording button and the battery life and stuff like that. But you ask the question, like, who's filming this? Especially because there's like different angles and stuff. You kind of expect to see like a cameraman in the background, especially if they have, 2 cameras going around them, or even if it's supposed to be like drones or something, show another drone in the background there. And so that just kind of like didn't work for me with the filming style. Like, really, who is filming this? They should have really kind of set up that, I thought, and that was certainly kind of one thing that you question throughout it, especially since it has that, recording and battery button. It's like, what's going on here? Where are these cameras? In addition, the host, like everything's being filmed for this show with a host, and the host is voice modulated to the point where I had a hard time hearing her, and so I couldn't really understand what she was saying, so I was just kind of going along with it. And her storyline too, like she was kidnapped or something and is forced into doing this. It just seemed like it was kind of tacked on. It's actually kind of the only story in the whole thing, so there's not a lot of story at all. It's just, like any kind of tournament movie, it's all about the fights and whatnot. So this kind of tacked on story is very kind of weak as well. And it just didn't seem like that's like something that would happen even if you had like a dark web casino. Like, why would you have to kidnap your host? Like, well, your host should be in on the whole thing and get paid for everything, right? That's why they're there. So it just didn't seem like it was even kind of realistic. I know it's not, that realistic overall, but it just seemed like it was just a point that didn't match up with anything else that they were trying to go for. And in fact, there's kind of no other story beyond that. So it is kind of as well boring because you're ultimately just watching these fights or for these fights. So it does kind of get stale, I would say, with just watching fight over fight for no kind of real reason. So yeah, that is also an issue. Also with this movie, I don't know if it's like the streaming service or whatnot, but sometimes like the film quality just kind of got worse, and it's certainly certain aspects of it, like when they're filming in the woods in the UK, kind of worse, but when they're in Thailand, it's kind of nice. So, it might just be different cameras or whatnot, and that was also in there as well. And so would I recommend this movie? Well, unless you just want to see some fights, then probably not. The story is certainly not worth it. And even then, it feels kind of very much like a COVID movie. So if you like COVID movies, yeah, sure. This is a fun one, I would say, for that type of time and place. It's just that this is 5 years beyond that. So I'm not sure if that is something that people still kind of want to see now that everything's back to normal, right? The flood of media just comes out. If it was coming out, 2021, it'd probably be, decent enough to watch. But I would say with this one, you got lots of options out there. If you really do enjoy fights, you can make this one. And as for a rating, well, ultimately, I'm just going to say it's an okay movie. Like, the fights were entertaining enough to really kind of make it okay. And with that being said, I will give it a 4, which is the okay score. I know it's a little bit below average, but I kind of think it's also that at times as well. So with that being said, I think that's all I wanted to say. So like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.